He left her while she was pregnant, for a woman the world called perfect. But when her secret surfaced, the billionaire who thought he had everything lost it all in one night. They said money could buy anything: happiness, beauty, power. But what if I told you it couldn't buy back a heart once broken? Welcome back, my beautiful family. I want to say thank you for your love, your attention, and support for the growth of our amazing Impert community. I pray may God Almighty should bless you and reward you all and your endeavors. Amen. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. Like and comment where you're watching from. Let's begin the amazing story of today. I believe we all are going to be blessed today after this wonderful story. Evie James had everything. Forbes called him the Iron Prince of Dynasty Steel. His empire stretched from New York to Singapore, his name whispered in boardrooms like a myth. He had the world at his feet, and a woman who loved him more than life itself, elegance. But power changes people. When fame blinded his heart, he walked away from the one woman who stood by him when he had nothing. He left her, pregnant and alone, for someone the world called perfect. A woman whose smile sold dreams on magazine covers. A woman named Vera. But Evie's didn't know that behind elegance's tears was a secret, one so powerful, so unexpected, it would bring his billion-dollar empire to its knees. This is not just a story about betrayal. It's a story about love, resilience, and the kind of revenge only silence can bring. Because sometimes, the greatest comeback isn't loud. It's elegant. Soft violin, city sounds fade in, New York skyline at dawn. Elegance stood by the window of their penthouse suite, her hand resting gently on her belly. The morning light painted gold streaks across the marble floor, but all she could feel was the cold. Evers's side of the bed was untouched. Again. For weeks, he had been busy. Board meetings, mergers, interviews, every excuse that money could buy. But deep down, Elegance knew. Someone, had taken him away from her. She turned when she heard the click of his shoes on the marble. Evie James, tall, sharp, and impossibly composed. The kind of man whose presence made people stand straighter. But today, he wouldn't meet her eyes. Elegance, softly, you didn't come home last night. Evie's, removing his cufflinks, you know how business is right now, L. The Dynasty Steel expansion doesn't sleep. Elegance, neither did I. She tried to smile, but her voice cracked. He didn't notice. Or maybe he didn't want to. Evie's poured himself a glass of water, speaking as if she were one of his assistants. Evie's, we are hosting a charity gala next week. I'd appreciate it if you stayed out of the spotlight for now. Elegance, out of the spotlight? I'm your wife, Evie's. Evie's, quietly for now. The words cut through her like glass. He left without another word, the scent of his cologne lingering in the air, cold, expensive, distant. And in that moment, Elegance realized something terrifying. She was losing him. But she didn't yet know to whom. Cut to flashbulbs. Reporters. The front page of Vogue. 2 days later, the world found out before Elegance did. There she was, Vera Lane. The woman who had graced every magazine, every billboard, the role model every young girl adored. A picture-perfect goddess standing beside Evie's at the Dynasty Steel Gala, her hand delicately looped through his arm. Headline: Billionaire Evie James finds new love in iconic role model Vera Lane. Elegance dropped the newspaper, her hands trembling. Her wedding ring, the one Evie had given her when he was still a dreamer, not a billionaire, slipped off her finger and rolled across the floor. She stared after it, eyes brimming with tears. Her chest tightened, and for a moment she couldn't breathe. Not because of heartbreak, but because of the life growing inside her. Elegance, whispering, "You'll have me, even if he doesn't." She placed a hand on her stomach, a promise to the child who would never know their father's love, or so she thought. When Elegance disappeared from the city weeks later, the tabloids moved on. To the world, she was just another woman left behind by a billionaire's ambition. But what they didn't know was that Elegance didn't vanish to mourn. She vanished to rebuild. Because when a woman's heart breaks, sometimes that's when her power begins. Vera Lane, the woman every magazine worshipped. Flawless smile, perfect posture, a vision of confidence. But behind that practiced grace was something darker, a hunger disguised as charm. That night, the Dynasty Steel Charity Gala was a kingdom built just for her. Golden lights shimmered against the crystal chandeliers, every guest eager to shake her hand. And at her side stood Evie's James, proud, polished, and oblivious.
Vera whispering, "Smile wider, darling."
Cameras love happy endings. Evie's, under his breath, "I left a marriage, not my dignity." Vera, smiling flawlessly, "Let's hope the world sees it that way." They posed. Flash. Laughter. Applause. But every time Evie's looked into Vera's eyes, he saw something, a flicker of cold calculation. He ignored it. He wanted to ignore it. Because the truth was, Vera didn't love him. She loved the power his name brought. Scene shift. Later that night, Vera alone in her penthouse. The dress came off. The smile faded. She stood before a mirror lined with perfume bottles and old secrets. Vera, to herself, "You're almost there, Vera. Just a few more steps, and the empire is yours." She opened her phone, a private message from a mysterious contact. A single line glowed on the screen. "He trusts you now. The transfer must happen before the merger." Vera's eyes hardened. She deleted the message. She wasn't just playing for love. She was playing for ownership, Dynasty Steel's ownership. And Evie's, lost in his own ego, was the perfect pawn. Scene cut. Evie's office, midnight. Evie sat alone, staring at a picture of elegance on his desk, the one he hadn't yet had the courage to throw away. Her smile in that photo was real. Soft. Genuine. He reached out, tracing the edge of the frame. "Evie's, to himself, you deserved better than me." Then, as if burned, he set the picture face down. His phone buzzed. Vera's name lit up. "Vera, text miss you already, my love. Tomorrow's the press event. Wear the grey suit. It sells better." Evie sighed. Somewhere deep down, he knew what he was becoming. A man molded by someone else's image. But pride is a cruel thing. Once it owns you, it whispers, "You're still in control." While Evie's drowned in illusion, elegance was miles away, in a quiet coastal town, in a small house that smelled of sea salt and fresh paint. She spent her days teaching art to children, and her nights preparing for a future no one saw coming. Her belly had grown rounder. Her heart, stronger. She no longer cried. Instead, she planned. And on her desk lay a letterhead stamped with gold, Dynasty Steel Holdings. She smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the ocean. Elegance, whispering, "You took my heart, Evie's, but you left me your company's biggest secret." Because sometimes, the most dangerous revenge isn't fire. It's patience. 6 months had passed since Elegance vanished from Evers' world. To the city, she was a ghost, a forgotten chapter in a billionaire's love story. But in that quiet coastal town, she was writing a new one. Elegance had learned something Evie's never thought she would. How to survive without him. Her mornings began with the sound of seagulls and the gentle rocking of waves. She painted again, the same way she used to when Evie's was just a dreamer with nothing but ambition and a steel company logo drawn on a napkin. And every night, after she put her hand on her growing belly, she worked on her secret. On her dining table sat a small laptop, old, battered, but powerful enough for one thing. Accessing the encrypted financial reports of Dynasty Steel Holdings. Elegance, whispering, "You should have changed your passwords, Evie's. You taught me everything I needed to know." She clicked through pages of figures, files, and transaction trails, and there it was. A silent flow of millions being siphoned through shell companies. The same ones now linked to Vera Lane. Elegance's eyes narrowed. Her hand shook, not with fear, but fury. Elegance. So this was never about love. She's stealing everything he built, and he doesn't even see it. She saved the data on a flash drive and tucked it into a velvet pouch beside a small gold locket, the first gift Evie's ever gave her. The irony was beautiful. The man who abandoned her for perfection was being destroyed by it. Vera and Evie's in his penthouse, weeks later. The city below glittered like a galaxy. Vera was draped in red silk, sipping champagne. Vera, smirking, darling, the investors adore you. With the merger, Dynasty Steel will dominate Asia. You're unstoppable. Evie's, half smiling, we are unstoppable. Vera, of course. We. But as she leaned in to kiss him, her phone buzzed again. A message from that same anonymous number. Phase 2 begins. Move his assets before the board meeting. Evie's didn't see it. He didn't notice how quickly she locked the screen. He was too busy convincing himself he was happy. Later that night, Evie's study. Evie's sat alone again. The more he gained, the emptier he felt. He thought about Elegance, her laughter, her kindness, the way she believed in him before the world did. For the first time in months, he wondered. Evie's, to himself, what if I made a mistake? He pulled open his drawer, the one where he'd hidden the photo of her. But instead of the picture, there was a sealed envelope. No name. No return address. Inside, a single flash drive. A note read, "Watch this if you still believe in truth." He hesitated, then plugged it in. And there it was, the same data Elegance had found. Account transfers. False signatures. Vera's name. His heart stopped. Evie's, whispering, no, this can't be real. But it was. Every transaction, every file, undeniable proof that Vera was draining his company behind his back. The woman he left his wife for was using him as a stepping stone. Years, Evie's felt powerless. And somewhere miles away, Elegance stood on a cliff by the sea, watching the sunset, unaware that her quiet act of justice had just begun to crumble his world. She thought she'd be free once he lost everything. But fate had a cruel sense of timing. Because the next morning, a black car pulled up to her home. A man stepped out, tall, suited, and carrying a folder stamped with the Dynasty Steel emblem. Man, Mrs. James. I believe this belongs to you. He handed her the same flash drive she'd sent, but attached to it now was a message from Evie's himself. Message, voiceover. Elegance. I don't know how you found out, but I need to see you. Please. It's about the company, and about us. Her breath caught. After all these months, the ghost of her past had found her again. Sometimes, the secrets we bury have a way of finding their way home. For months, Elegance had practiced what she'd say if she ever saw him again. Every line, every question, every accusation. But when the day finally came, all those words melted into silence. The black car waited at the end of the pier, its windows dark, engine humming. Inside sat Evie's James, no longer the man of magazine covers. He looked older now, tired, as if success had turned to dust in his hands. Elegance stepped forward, wind catching her hair like a flag of defiance. Her stomach had flattened after the birth. She wore a simple white coat, the kind that made her look untouched by wealth. Evie's, softly you came. Elegance, you asked. He wanted to say I missed you, but the words stayed behind his teeth. They walked along the dock in silence until the city noise was just a hum behind them. Evie's, Vera isn't who I thought she was. Elegance, I know. Evie's, you sent me the files. Elegance, I sent you the truth. Her tone wasn't angry. It was calm, steady, almost merciful. That unnerved him more than any shouting could have. Evie's, she's draining everything. If the board finds out, Dynasty Steel collapses. Elegance, then let it. Maybe it deserves to. He turned sharply, pain flashing in his eyes. Evie's, you think I haven't paid enough. Elegance, you left me when I carried your child. You left without even asking if we were okay. A gust of wind filled the pause that followed. Evie's looked down, shame bending his shoulders. Evie's, is the baby? Elegance, healthy, beautiful. You have a son. The words hit him like a verdict. He pressed a hand to his chest as if something inside had cracked open. Evie's, can I see him? Elegance, not yet. He doesn't know what betrayal looks like. I'd like to keep it that way a little longer. Music shifts, minor piano chords. There was a time when Evie's could buy silence with money. Now, silence was the only thing he couldn't afford. Evie's, help me stop Vera. I'll sign everything over to you, the shares, the assets, anything. Elegance, I don't want your empire. Evie's, then what do you want? Elegance, to watch you choose the right thing when no one's watching. She turned to leave, but he caught her hand. Evie's, please, Elegance. I can't do this without you. Elegance, meeting his eyes, you already did it without me, Evie's. That's how we got here. She pulled free, walking away into the grey mist, her figure fading until she looked like a memory. Cut to Evie's office, night. The next evening, Evie's returned to Dynasty Steel. He walked through the glass doors as if entering a battlefield. Every employee stopped to stare, the king returning to his castle only to find the throne poisoned. Vera was waiting in his chair, legs crossed, the picture of poise. Vera, darling, you look pale. Rough night. Evie's, rough truth. He dropped the folder on her desk, every document, every transaction she'd forged. Vera, where did you? Evie's, from the woman you thought you erased. Her face flickered for the first time. No charm, no control, just fear. Vera, you wouldn't go public. It would destroy the company. Evie's, then maybe that's what justice looks like. He turned and walked out, leaving her alone with the evidence of her own undoing. Scene change, seaside cottage, that same night. Elegance rocked her baby to sleep. Through the window, lightning flared over the distant skyline. She didn't know what decision Evie's would make, only that this storm was his to face. She whispered to her child, "Your father is learning how to be human again." And far away, in a tower of glass and ambition, a man once worshipped by the world was finally learning what love truly costs. The storm. Evie's exposes Vera's deception before the Dynasty Steel board. In front of the cameras and shareholders, he confesses his own guilt first, how arrogance blinded him and cost him his family. Then he reveals the evidence Elegance gathered. Vera tries to manipulate the room one last time, but when confronted with the data and recordings, her mask breaks. She's escorted out while reporters swarm the building. For the first time, Evie's refuses to hide behind money or lawyers. He tells the world that what matters isn't the empire, but integrity. Rebuilding. After the scandal, Dynasty Steel collapses in the market. Evie sells what remains to pay the workers and start over, quietly, without headlines. Elegance hears about it from the news, watching him finally take responsibility rather than chase power. Months later, he visits her again, not as a billionaire, but as a man carrying flowers and humility. He meets their son for the first time. The boy looks up, curious, and hands him a seashell. Evie's breaks down, holding both the child and the shell like fragile truth. Elegance's secret. Elegance then reveals her real secret. When she disappeared, she didn't only take data. She founded a foundation that used part of Evie's early savings to build art programs for underprivileged children. She'd turned pain into purpose. And though she still wore her wedding ring, it was no longer a symbol of love lost. It was a reminder of what she survived. Evie's offers to help her work, not as a partner in romance but as someone trying to be worthy of forgiveness. Over time, they rebuild a quiet friendship rooted in honesty. Vera, now exposed and forgotten, becomes a cautionary headline about greed and illusion. Years later, a new company opens on the coast, Grace Steel Foundation. Its logo, a small seashell, the same one a child once handed his father. In the opening ceremony, cameras flash. Evie stands beside Elegance and their son. No lavish suits, no rehearsed smiles, just three people who finally understand that wealth means nothing if it costs your soul. Reporter, Mr. James, what inspired this new beginning? Evie's, smiling, a woman who taught me that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it's quiet and elegant. Elegance glances at him, eyes soft but steady. She doesn't need to say anything. Forgiveness is already spoken through time. As the ribbon is cut, the crowd applauds, and sunlight breaks through the clouds. The camera pans up to the sky, reflecting off the ocean, where everything began. Love lost, truth found, and a woman's silence became the sound of redemption. Sometimes life tears you apart so you can rebuild the pieces stronger. Elegance lost everything, but in the end, she gained something money could never buy: peace. Quiet kind of power that only comes from love and forgiveness. Thanks for taking your precious time watching. Please, before you leave, don't forget to subscribe, like and comment where you are watching from. Thank you.